All right. Viktor Gyokeres ready for court. Then we are going to be breaking down a little bit of a situation down in Inter Milan and Juventus. Jonathan David addressing that, and also Hans Flink not happy with the side of Barcelona. Good morning, the viewers of the Rokani Media Football. Hope you guys are really having fun, and it's really a Thursday morning, and I don't know what it is where you are right now, but it's really going down well in my country. And hope you guys are really having up-to fun. And let's obviously see to it that you guys subscribe to this channel, because we want to hit 28,000 subscribers onto this beautiful YouTube channel of ours, right? And I know we're obviously going to be hitting the milestone into the mix. Now, we're here to bring you the latest news and information as far as everything is really concerned. And you all know the saga of Gyokeres that led him to Arsenal. It's now going to court. Can you imagine? It's now going to court. And Gyokeres and his agent are really the frontliners or the front runners of this. So let's obviously see what we've gone ahead to get in from CM Jano. CM Jano, obviously it's a Portuguese outlet. And when it's a Portuguese outlet, you have to pay a lot of attention to detail, because they're talking about a player who was in Portugal for 2-3 seasons, and then an agent who has been dealing with Portuguese players for a very long period of time possible. Now, they've told us the following, that Gyokeres is prepared to testify against Sporting Lisbon president Varandas to support his agent Arsene Sintinkaya. Sintinkaya is suing Sporting Lisbon, claiming he lost millions in the deal. You understand? He added and said he initially waived his commission and an additional €1 million in bonuses, but now says he did so under pressure not to block Gyokeres' move to Arsenal. He's now seeking to recover a portion of that money and will use the player's testimony to help his case. Sintinka also feels he was defamed by the club. Obviously, let's get back to the amount of money that was supposed to earn. Now, for the deal of Viktor Gyokeres to cross from the side of Sporting Lisbon to Arsenal or any other club, the agent had 10% commission from that amount of money. You understand? And guess what? Sporting Lisbon said that can only happen if at all Arsenal pays 80 million euros. And the agent was like, let me obviously free my client and let him go. And I think his lawyers went ahead to advise him to do that, because they knew to it that there were lots of factual grounds to really bench on, to say to it that they really get this guy over the line. And that's why they told him, stand on your 10 toes and really make this decision. But when the deal is done, we'll obviously get to court, and pure evidence will be there, and Varandas and Sporting Lisbon will have to pay you your money. Because the agent says he has an agreement that is not a gentleman's agreement, a written agreement, that after Gyokeres failed to leave Sporting Lisbon in the summer of 2024 for a €100 million release clause, then they really sat on the table and they really agreed that at 70 million euros or 60, the player will go next summer, because in the history of Portugal, no player has left that side for 80 million euros or 100 million euros when he's 27. You understand? And they are sure that this was obviously going to be one of the deals that will see Sporting Lisbon obviously give Viktor Gyokeres the right send-off that he really deserved as a player. And guess what? It was never the case. It was never the case for the side of Viktor Gyokeres, and they really went into that so-called Cold War that resulted into the agent, that is Sintinkaya, feeling like he was really really defamed and he feels like they need to do the needful, because very many players might not even want to deal with him. And very many clubs might not obviously want to negotiate with him for his clients because of what happened at Sporting Lisbon, and something needs to be put to clarity that the lad is really straight and he's not going into crooked ways of really doing business. So that is the first aspect. They've gone ahead to obviously do the needful. But all of this is based onto Viktor Gyokeres to come out and obviously testify. So I don't think that it was only a gentleman's agreement, because he really has lawyers. Lawyers might, for me, lawyers really have a written document, and at the end of it all, we will see to it that this goes to court and it will obviously get a verdict, whether in favor of Sporting Lisbon or in favor of the agent. And by the way, I was really so much in a question of questions when this lad found himself in a position of really letting down all that amount of money, his percentage, So he's seeking to recover a portion of that money and will use the player's testimony to help this case. Now, my worry is, won't this really affect the mindset of Viktor Gyokeres when he's really playing at Arsenal? For me, that is the most important bit of it all. And I think if the media picks up on this story, it's going to be affecting Viktor Gyokeres' performance on the pitch. Why? Every time he really doesn't score, they'll be like, him going to court to testify is really on his mind, and his mindset is not in the right order to obviously play the game of football. The manager should obviously offload him and see to it that when the case is done, or when him putting in his testimony is done, then he will obviously get back onto the pitch. And when he scores, the same media will come out and really publish out a story that he's scoring, but we don't know how far he will go scoring when he's really into that testimony mode, running or racing in his mind. You understand? Because I know the English media, and most of them have been proved wrong so far by Gyokeres scoring a brace against Leeds. Most of them were like, in the game of Manchester United, he had more touches on his head than the touches on the ball. And they went ahead, obviously, hit him immediately, that he won't score, he'll flop, blah, 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 blah. But him obviously coming in and really putting in a shift to that level, I tell you, they'll go at him. They'll obviously find ways of magnifying this and obviously piling pressure on him. But all I know is that the player has the experience to obviously overcome this. So we wait and see how that pans out. But the player in Gyokeres will obviously go in the jury. You understand? And he'll obviously have to testify, and his lawyers, I think, have already gone ahead to give him the best brief of that possible. Now, Viktor Gyokeres returns to the Premier League, this weekend, and he really got himself a goal. If at all I'm not mistaken, Gyokeres came up and obviously scored in that game where Sweden went ahead to beat Azerbaijan by... No, it's not Azerbaijan. That was really way back. They played Hungary, right? Where is this? There is a team they played on Monday. That is Kosovo. And Sweden went ahead to lose to Kosovo. Very shocking, guys. Very shocking, guys. Sweden lost to Kosovo. You understand? And I think their chances to obviously play into the World Cup are really ruined. You understand? First, wait. They drew 2-2 with Slovenia, right? Then let's be exact in here. Let's get in the right results. And on Monday, 8th September, they lost to Kosovo that even had a red card by 2-0. The manager deserves to be sacked, because if you're really having Gyokeres, Elanga leading the line, it's really very, very ashamed. Alexandra Isak came on and nothing could obviously happen. Very ashamed. The manager should be sacked. You know, I don't know whether he even still has his job, because when you look at the stats, Switzerland is really having 6 points. Kosovo is having 3. Sweden is having 1 in 2 games. Slovenia is having 2 in 1. Oh my God. Very much shocking. I don't know how they're obviously going to be overcoming this, but I think it's high time the manager really hit the bar, because when you're really having Gyokeres and Alexandra Isak, I think, and other players that Sweden do have, you can't give that as an excuse that you're really losing out. You understand? Now, Jonathan David, a free agent he found himself in a position of really putting in a very huge shift to really join Juventus. But he has come up and obviously dropped the secret that one of the rivals of Juventus, known as Inter Milan, approached him to try to sign him. They made some contact with my agent, but I'm really happy to have joined Juventus, which is the biggest club in Italy. I hope to score against Inter on Sunday and help Juventus win. Now, I like the way media goes ahead to obviously hype these tournaments, these big matches, because how would I have known that Inter Milan is going to be playing Juventus on Saturday? But it's all about a story that has been put out by Jonathan David that a side known as Inter Milan wanted to sign me. And I was like, I picked the best club in Italy. You understand? Now, Jonathan David has obviously gone ahead to obviously use proxy to obviously communicate to us that there is a big game over the weekend, Inter Milan versus Juventus, where we are obviously going to be facing them, and I'm going to be really ready to score against them, because they wanted to sign me and I picked Juventus over them, meaning that I have to come up in that game and orchestrate that. I went ahead to make the right decision. And he's like, he wants to score against them. And I know Inter Milan players will also counter. They will counter the lad, and they'll come up with a countering statement that will obviously cause a cold war and hence hype around the game. Do you know how many cameras are going to be looking at Jonathan David, in that game? Because he knows to it that he has obviously gone ahead to open up what we call a cold war in there for you. When you look at Jonathan David came in through at the side of Juventus, and I think he scored on his debut. That is it. And so far, he has played 2 games for Juventus, and he has 1 goal, meaning that he is not yet far off from this. And Juventus is also really doing wonders so far under their new manager. And they are really putting in a very huge shift altogether, because they've played 2 games. They're really having 6 points with Napoli, Cremonese, and AS Roma. So that is how things are really panning out. And their opening games of the season, the 2 they've gone ahead to play, have been really, really, really good for them, because they opened up by beating Parma 2-0. Then Genoa, Juventus beat them by 1-0. So that's how really things went ahead to happen. And Jonathan David was the man that really opened up the scoreline in the 59th minute in the opening game of Juventus. Dusan Vlahovic came up and really made it 2 in the 84th minute. But the performances are not all that rosy, but all you first need are 3 points. Even if you really play very well, and you don't collect 3 points, there is no way a team will come up and obviously give you all the hail that you really deserve. Now, lastly, let's go to Barcelona and really hear what the manager of Barcelona really has to say. The manager of Barcelona has come out and really said the following. Flick is not happy with Barcelona's start. He warned about ego and low intensity. Now he must rebuild the defense without Inigo Martinez. Recover pressing and transitions and adapt Rashford. 7 games in 3 weeks with Newcastle and PSG will test if the team reacts. Obviously, as a man who has obviously gone ahead to obviously manage big teams like Bayern Munich, he doesn't believe that the altitude for the players at Barcelona is at its best. And by the way, even if it's at its best, at the start of the season, we need to tell the players that we need them and really put them on pressure. And that really went ahead, obviously, reveal itself in the last game that Barcelona played before we went to the international break, when they really drew with Royal Volcano. And with the squad Barcelona is really having, there is no way you obviously draw with Royal Volcano, because the first game they beat Mallorca by 3-0, and the second game away they really beat Levante by 3-2, and that obviously shows you the hardships that were into that. And when you look at the side of the table, Athletic Club is having 9 points maximum, Villarreal is having 7, Barcelona is having 7, Espanyol is having 7. That is how the league is really looking. And Real Madrid is really topping the table also with 9 points. And you know that if you know the history of Real Madrid and Barcelona, no manager can feel safe when his side is behind the other. Barcelona, who won the league last season, are 2 points behind Real Madrid. And the manager is like, we are playing Valencia over the weekend. We are having Newcastle in the midweek. This is the right test that my players are supposed to be subjected to see whether they can obviously come up and really form the best of performances in here. So guys, thank you very much for obviously watching in through. Go into the comment section and let me know your thoughts about Gyokeres ready for court. You know, I've explained everything well, and I'm waiting for your reaction onto that. After that, I'm calling in for your reactions onto this story concerning a man called Jonathan David charging up to score against a team that once contacted him when he was a free agent, and he said he chose Juventus because they are the best team in Italy, of which is true. Juve are the best team in Italy. And lastly, what do you make about Hans Flick calling in for more attitude, intensity at Barcelona to set pace? And do you think all that will be orchestrated in the next 2 games against Valencia and Newcastle? All that and more into the comment section below. Good morning, my mates. See you when you see me. And we are ready to Rafi and Rumble.